George would say, do it some more. Do it again. Faster. And better. George kind of presumes an understanding about what it is we're into.
Sometime in the summer, my agent rang up. She said, well, there's this man called George Lucas, I think, and he's making a film, and a space film. Do you want to go and see him? And I said, well, might as well. And then she said, no, the only trouble is, I should tell you, that the part is a robot. So I said, oh, come on. I'm a serious actor. We have to get on with my career, don't we? So she said, well, there's no harm in meeting this man, is there? So I agreed. I must say immediately, I hope he's going to listen to this, I immediately liked him. And then a couple of days later, my agent said, pick up a script. So I did. And I read the script, and in fact became very excited by the character 3PO, whom I immediately realized wasn't an ordinary robot by any means, you know. I was the first person, I believe, cast in the entire film, and I was hysterical about it.
I used to sit in the bathtub the night before, go over my lines, like the one in the hallway where I would say, this is some rescue. When you came in here, did you have any plan for getting us out? When I went in the next day to do the scene, the entire hallway was blowing up. So there was no other way to do it but, this is some rescue when you came in! You know, so that after that, I would memorize my lines and wait to see if we were being blown up or not, which we were a lot. And George really wouldn't say anything. He would, at the beginning, he would say faster or more intense. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought it meant that I was just not very good or whatever. And then I found out that that was okay. I don't remember how I found it. I think maybe Harrison told me that when he didn't talk, when he didn't say anything, he was getting what he wanted.
George would say, do it some more. Do it again. Faster. And better. Faster and better. Or don't do that anymore, that's crazy. Or, George kind of presumes an understanding about what it is we're into. That in a way, on one hand is very efficient.
We made fun of faster and more intense, but it works. It's very specific. Faster you can do, more intense you can do. And that worked fine with me. I was glad that I wasn't getting... I think in this scene there's a bemused hysteria about her, kind of a aggravated, lonely, he never went superlative, adjective, gray on us. He went black and white.
What he used to say to me was, could you move a bit whilst you're saying that line? Because occasionally I would stop, like a real actor, and deliver a line absolutely still if it really mattered. What George could instantly spot, that I only existed when I moved. If I didn't move, the voice could be coming from anywhere. So I very carefully had to think out how to speak the lines with my head, physically.
I knew what I thought my character was going to be, but I didn't know what it was going to look like, what it was going to feel like, what it was all going to be at all. I had no idea. I had no idea how they could do some of the things that were in there. It was a mystery.
When we had to do the swing across over the cavern that looks endless. But on the swing across I had to hold the gun, which is very heavy. And that scared me. I thought I'd drop it. George wanted me to say for luck, and then shoot the gun, and then swing. I was scared to death. They put all those boxes down. I couldn't see how the boxes were going to prevent me from breaking many bones. But if one fell, we both fall. I could see Mark and I on insurance for the rest of our lives.
Did you trust Mark?
Yeah. Well, the rope was the one to trust. But he was the one with the girdle on. I was just hooked up to it. That could have come unsnapped. I could see me coming flying onto my face. We only had to do it once, though. And I was also afraid that my hair was going to fall off. Things like that. I was sort of sorry it wasn't 2 takes. Once I did it, then you get over the initial shock. And I wanted to do it again. And I still do. That's why I hope they do a sequel with lots of swing across.
George found a record that he liked. I can't remember what it was. He found this rhythm track. It was about the right kind of character, and so he used that temporarily. His idea, what he said to me, was, you can imagine these creatures in some future century having found in a time capsule under a rock someplace an old 1930s Benny Goodman swing band record. And can you imagine what their distorted idea of how to play it would be? So that's more or less what I tried to do, and I think it looks pretty cute with the monsters, you know, doing their little Benny Goodman licks.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's where we ended up with it.
The first day shooting, the script had words, had a lot of technical jargon, and I had to say binary load, programming binary load lifters, and I still can't say it. And we must have done maybe 5 or 6 takes before it occurred to me it didn't matter what I said, because my lips weren't moving. Sitting down was impossible in the costume. It just wasn't made for bending, so any time you see me sitting down, either you don't see below the waist, or I sat down without the costume and they would come with bits and pieces and tape and sticky and everything and build up a kind of mock-up version, which if you half close your eyes in the studio, it would look all right. And it looks all right on film, I think. I had this terrible leaning board, a kind of medieval thing with arms, that allowed you to recline at about 70 degrees and was very little use at all, because all the weight still went down to your ankles, and it was like walking around with a great barbell all day, you know, by the end of the day, wow. Walking in sand, if you look carefully when I'm walking past the big bones in the desert, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can see that I can barely move, and in fact, just as I got round the corner, I fell over for the only time in the film, and was found sticking completely stick-like at an angle with my arm at 90 degrees sticking into the sand. So there I was, propped up on one arm, which stuck right in the sand, and they just came, because once fallen down I couldn't then retrieve myself at all.
George was right about the idiom of the music in the picture. I mean, he didn't want, for example, electronic music. He didn't want futuristic, cliche outer space, future centuries kind of noises. He felt that since the picture was so original in its the different creatures, places unseen, sights unseen, noises unheard of, and all the rest of that, the music should be on a fairly familiar, emotional, kind of visceral, gut level. It led me to the stylistic direction that I went to in the Star Wars score, which is, in the first instance, tonal. It's traditionally orchestral. I mean, there are no electronic instruments. There's nothing synthesized in it. It's all acoustic and natural, and the music could be played in an auditorium just the way one hears it in the film. But I think the music relates to the characters and their human problems, and even when they're Wookiees or whatever they are, you know.
I suspected what the style of the film was going to be, but you know, I didn't know what the reality level was going to be, and Mark is the idealistic, callow youth. I'm the cynic, and the princess is a princess, you know, so you know how they act.
The great thing about Star Wars is when I see it, I'm just going to be as surprised as anybody else, because I haven't seen, you know, any of the effects. Are they going to have my planet blown up? I'm very curious to see what my planet looks like blowing up, and what I look like flying through space, looking at the rockets going by, because I don't get to see any of that.